And talking about the next panel, allow me to bring up the editor-in-chief of Government CIO magazine, a name you're probably very familiar with. She's been with the media market here, government, and other publications. She's an absolute delight to work with, a true, hardworking, smart journalist, Camille Tudy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much, Nick. So, I guess I will be delivering my remarks standing up. Thank you so much for coming to this event. We're super excited that so many people showed up and think that this is an important topic. So, we want to encourage you to share on social media. So using the hashtag AIGov, tweet pictures, comments, shoe fees, if you want to do that, or shoe fees of my shoes. So we're going to have a great conversation with true experts in the field. The AI revolution is here, and we're going to learn tonight about the different applications, solutions, and vision that will shape how AI transforms government. So some people have expressed concern about aspects of these emerging technologies, yet in a world where citizens demand more of government, AI could help make the government more efficient and more effective. So with further ado, please welcome our first panel. We got Justin Herman, who's the lead of GSA's Emerging Citizen Technology Office, known as ECTO. We got Alyssa Johnson, who's the CISO at Xerox, and she's also a former deputy CIO in the Executive Office of the President in the White House. And a last-minute addition, Michael Garris, who's a senior scientist and founder and chair of the Artificial Intelligence Community of Interest at NIST. So Michael has been with NIST for 32 years?
31.
31.
But who's counting?
Who's counting, yes. So I want to give you guys about a minute or so to talk a little bit about the role of AI in your agency or your organization. So Alyssa, Xerox, talk a little bit about what you do and how you're applying AI or even thinking about AI.
So I am the Chief Information Security Officer for Xerox. You may think Xerox Document Technology. We also have the Palo Alto Research Center that does a lot of innovative thinking, think tank type of work. I'm looking at AI from a perspective of information security and allowing artificial intelligence to kind of do better things, more things, bigger things for us so that we can allow our resources to work on higher level, higher risk tasks and allow artificial intelligence to kind of fill in that cybersecurity talent gap that we've all heard about. I think that's a great way to replace or kind of realign our workforce. And so that's kind of what we're looking at it from in our perspective. Thank you. That's what we're looking at it from our perspective in Xerox. We also look at it from a perspective of modeling, data modeling in terms of cybersecurity as well. How can you use AI engines to help model behavior so that we can anticipate threats, respond to threats, and then figure out if the mitigation efforts or compensating controls will help in any way?
Michael?
Yeah, so am I on?
You're on.
All right, so I'm wearing two hats this evening. The first is Justin and I are co-members on an interagency subcommittee on machine learning and AI. Out of the Office of Science Technology Policy, National Science Technology Council. And I'm privileged to co-lead that. And then the second hat I have tonight is I am a senior scientist at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And so there I am working to help coordinate AI programmatically across the Institute. And so perhaps we'll talk a little bit about interagency along the way, but talking about NIST, we are a measurement metrology laboratory. We're multi-domain, so we have everything from robotics and material science and information technology, just a vast array of different disciplines. And it's no surprise that every single project lead that I encounter is either exploring the use of machine learning or they're like, I wonder what this can do for me in my domain. So we are looking to support that and use AI to enhance all these disciplines in the area of measurement science. But also, there's an aspect of and a need for verification validation of these new technologies. And so one of the things that NIST has an opportunity, and I would say a responsibility to help work with the community in, is to be able to provide standards, if you will, metrics and methods on how to measure and assess areas of trustworthiness. So, is this new emerging AI technology, is it reliable? Is it performing as expected? Is there uncertainty? Is this AI technology secure? Very important. Is this AI technology private or privacy enhanced? We also have heard a lot of concern raised about algorithmic bias. So we want technology that doesn't have embedded harmful bias in it. How do you measure, how do you even define that and then quantify it? And once you quantify it, what do you do to mitigate it? And then we also know that a lot of today's machine learning is not interpretable, very difficult to interpret, very difficult to derive an explanation. So these are all areas very ripe for standardization, and as a community, how we can come together to measure and evaluate, and yes, eventually, as these things mature, we can standardize on it.
And Justin, you've spoken
So
at
I'm just going to
every
take the mic from the beginning.
AI event, and you
That's what we're trying. We have a speakers bureau now
Yeah,
to help
right?
distribute amongst agencies.
You've become the spokesman for AI and other emerging technologies in government. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, so I work for a General Services Administration in a new program called the Emerging Citizen Technology Program. Specifically, it's when federal agencies come together and say, listen, there's a new technology, generally citizen-facing, hence the name of it, that we know that there's use cases for. We know we want to start investing in this, but no roadmaps exist forward. We don't understand what the policies are, what the guidance are. We don't understand maybe how to approach the acquisitions of it. So then what we do is we put together government-wide programs and interagency efforts in order to start building those roadmaps for the first time. That's where I first met Michael, of course, working on the subcommittee. Because one of the things that always gets us is we watch, and the public perception of where the U.S. federal government is on AI, and then where things actually are, there's a large chasm. And in that chasm is some of the questions that Mike brought up. Some of the issues are resources and services we have to start working on together. And that's a lot of what we do. So people ask, is this actually real, or people have focused on it? There's over 320 unique government agencies participating in GSA's Emerging Citizen Technology Program on the federal, state, and local level. And we do work with Canada, even other countries. The federal and the public service community on these things is robust and strong. And there's a lot we have to do. But we can't do it alone. And like you started touching upon some of like the community and efforts. So I know this is Mohana's last night reporting, and she asked me to give her some scoops and salacious things, which I hope to get to a little bit later. But it's basically one of the interesting things is there is no fully defined path forward. But so they said the devil's greatest victory was convincing mankind that he didn't exist. But the worst thing is for you to walk away thinking that AI is some intangible future state instead of looking at the absolute practical things that could be done today core to IT modernization. And yes, there are future state stuff, but as a lot of people that I see, that I know, that I work with in this room, where's that GSA leasing team that I talked to earlier? It's in the back. People coming up with ideas on how to, up today, apply robotic process automation and other aspects to do more with less. It's not an intangible future, and as long as we are writing articles and reading things about that, it's doing a disservice because the decisions need to be made now.
I just want to add on to that, because it is not an intangible future, but it is very disruptive, right? And so because of the disruption, I think is why we need partnerships between the private sector and the public sector to kind of work together and make sure that we have some real structure in place and some real examples. And I think that is one of the issues. I know we haven't even started with your questions yet, but that is probably one of the, right, it's just a conversation. That is one of the reasons why there is so much hesitation with the understanding of AI and maybe wanting to even implement it a little bit further because, what is the use case? What is the where has it really been proven successful? We know some stories and some really bad stories where, within 5 minutes, Twitter was tweeting something else that wasn't supposed to be tweeted. I don't know if you know that story or not from an AI perspective.
I know all stories.
I know you do. I know you do. Yeah, he probably was. But there's some bad use cases, right? I think it's our responsibility as the advocates for AI and for just technology and innovation to show the positive use cases.
I don't know, Camille.
I'm not needed here.
Just a quick comment
Yeah,
about
that's totally fine.
This is the need for public-private partnership, the need for being able to communicate using this technology that's available today, as Justin just articulated. I mean, this has been a driving motivation of the prior administration and the current administration. And that's why the interagency that Justin and I are part of, it continues, it's vibrant, it's strong, because there is great opportunity, and often the public is aware of the negative and not so much the opportunity. So I really appreciate Justin championing things as he does at GSA to help be practical, help be positive.
So I'm actually going to kick it back to Justin, and this is kind of a silly question, but
You're not going to ask about the Terminator or HAL 9000, are you?
no.
Okay, thank goodness. Continue, please.
It's not here, but
You can
no.
add it.
I have a silly question, but it will kind of set the stage for government's adoption in AI.
Yeah.
So on a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 is chatbots and 5 is humanoid robots, where is the federal government when it comes to AI adoption?
I don't think those things are too dissimilar, actually, on the scale. In fact, if you were to pick two things that are pretty damn similar, I would say it's those things.
Okay,
but
so
no, but
give
I
me
understand what
give me a number.
Okay, no, so okay, let's 5. I like the number 5, but the whole thing is the scope, depth, and difference. People act like AI is like some genie that comes out, and it's like Nick was talking earlier. The whole perception is shaped around general intelligence and what you see in movies and stuff, not at the discrete, unique use cases and applications that oftentimes people will, like when we see a pilot program, the end user doesn't know that they're using AI. They just know their day went a hell of a lot better because something that took a long time to happen happened maybe instantaneously. And I mean, that's really the point of it, is that we've got things worked up so much in our mind where it's like talk about Plato's cave, where people are looking at the shadows of the wall instead of the fire. There's so much hype, but this is many different things, and there's many different unique applications. And the thing that I do know is that there's not a single federal agency and probably not a single federal program that could not benefit today from some minor application of it. Now, yes, when we get up to 5 and we look at the future state, well, that's a whole different thing. But we can't think about that at the jeopardy of not looking at what every federal agency can do today to do more with less.
Can you point to specific use cases? What are some of the agencies that have implemented AI? What are the problems that they're trying to solve?
Well, I mean, so we usually don't like calling out agencies, but makes it easy because GSA itself completed a pilot. Federal Acquisition Services did a brief pilot for the FastLane program. FastLane was actually the service for identifying emerging technologies and bringing them quickly onto GSA schedules. So it was this whole thing and the idea of it's like eating your own dog food on that sense where, and it worked. This pilot worked. It used robotic process automation, a blend, was able to do simple things. And we were having a discussion with the great GSA team out back earlier, is that people think that they have to bite off huge chunks, and it has to be this grand thing to match the idea of AI that people have on their heads. But really something, and the best thing agencies could do right now is identify little minutia, little processes and steps and things. It's inexpensive comparatively in order to execute. It shows an example, it's a pilot, it's scalable, it's replicable. These are things that can happen every day on it. And I think that's really where government, it's like another office in GSA came and said, their contact centers. They said, we're pretty sure we could knock $10 million off our budget by doing X, Y, and Z and using chatbots in it. That adds up, and because that's a process that every single government agency could also employ if it works for that system. And that's why it's so exciting right now, because every step we take and one agency takes, it is opening up a whole world of improved services and cost savings for agencies.
I like Justin's idea of taking it in small chunks, because I think right now we look at AI like we did the cloud a while back, right? We said, oh, the cloud, what is that? Oh my gosh. You know, and everyone had a hard time wrapping their mind around it until I told my mom, like, Gmail is the cloud, Mom. Like, well, seriously. You know, so it's not until you really have.
Gmail is the cloud?
Yes. Did you know? And so now, you know, with these smaller concepts or lighter weight concepts, you know, a lot of people think AI, and they automatically think the drivable car, you know, the automatic cars that drive, and, you know, kind of things like that, and can't really fathom that. But you can fathom a chatbot. That's something that's very real. You can fathom that in different perspectives, and just from my perspective, from a call center perspective, from, you know, various perspectives in interacting and engagement and improving that engagement model. Sometimes even, I'd say from a Xerox perspective, engaging with customers. And I'm not saying that Xerox uses chatbots to engage with customers, but, you know, that is a real tangible thing that we could do. And so it really breaks it down and makes it not so intimidating as it could be, as we, you know, thought about the cloud years ago.
Yeah, you and I talked a little bit about, you know, you gave the analogy of, you know, when the iPhone came out, people didn't, you know, they could never envision themselves having a computer in your pocket and a camera, and now that's like second nature to us.
Yeah, you know, that's why I called, you know, AI, of course, I don't think anyone in this room will disagree. It is a disruptive, technology, disruptive innovation. And I, from a security CISO perspective, look at it as really, really disruptive, because I want it to disrupt security. I want machines and things to do things for me, because I don't have the staff to do it myself. But I want to be able to trust what it says. But that level of disruption really takes the smaller chunks of proof, the NIST standards, to help us put some structure around and not go kind of haywire like we can sometimes, and pull, you know, kind of rein it all in and give us some really good structure.
Okay. This is a question that has been asked many times, and Justin, I'll start with you. Do you see any threats posed by AI?
No. You know, with anything, this isn't even a question about AI. Everything comes with its own risks and opportunities and barriers and accelerators. So yes, there are risks associated with AI, especially if we leave things to chance. Yes, there are benefits and opportunities to AI that we could never have without it. Its inevitability is the other thing to say, is that amongst risks and opportunities and rewards and fears and threats, it is inevitability. And so what we have to do, and it's something that we talk about often, is we know that there's going to be debates, we know there's going to be conversations, we know that there's articles that have like Terminator robots when we're talking about chatbots, and then everyone gets worked up. You know, we've all seen them.
I know.
But when it comes down to it, the decisions are being made right now. We have to talk about it, and we have to build the infrastructure and the decision-making process and the ethics and the privacy and the security all must be addressed. We don't have an option not to.
Michael, do you want to weigh in on that?
Talk about the threats, Michael.
Yeah. It does come down to us as a research and development and industry of developing responsibly, deploying responsibly, And what does that look like? And it looks like where we see industry consortium holding each other accountable. I think it's very positive. We've got a lot of also R&D that's being targeted towards these issues. And so this is one of the things that is a clear recommendation that has come out of reports and that the administration wants to see is that we have a well-coordinated research and development community, and where industry is not incentivized to cover certain important topics, such as some of the things we've been describing, that the government has a role to fund those things. And so, I mean, these are the things that we need to do to responsibly develop and embrace these technologies. And also in doing this, while we deal with today's, our opening speaker talked about today's technology, another term for it is narrow AI. Well, it's transforming much of what we're doing, and this is why Justin is so excited for embracing this now. While we do these responsible things in today's AI, it's really going to set a platform for us to be able to address the future. You know, there's some unknowns, you know, and we all see those, and so what we need to do is be preparing and be responsible today.
Just from a cybersecurity perspective, let me just say, I think the biggest threat to AI is data, right? Because what we found at Park was it takes, what, you show a person a cat one time, and they know it's a cat. You show it, you have to, a AI machine or certain engines need to see that 3 billion times before they recognize it as actually and take it as factual. So the success of AI is the success of data. But that is not to scare anyone away, because we've all said this, good data in, good data out. Junk in, junk out. It's no different from any other system, but it's really, really relative and really, really important when you think about when you think in terms of AI and things doing things for us, and those things being done based on the integrity of the data.
What are some of the aspects that are missing from this AI conversation that you have with people? Justin?
I will take the mic on this one. And it's something that we talk about and we work on all the time, between meetings, late night conversations, is these missing pieces and that no man's land that I described. In fact, there's a couple of things that we started launching yesterday that I guess I could mention about how we can address kind of like that chasm and people are knowledgeable about it. Through the Emerging Citizen Technology Program, which again is 320 unique federal, state, local agencies. The first thing, and only half of these things could directly involve Nick Sinai in some way. We were joking about earlier between his work at Harvard and also venture capitalism, is one of the things is the U.S. government needs a permanent and continuing flow of information and insights and market research of what's coming next. You know organizations like In-Q-Tel, Homeland Security has their innovation and venture capital wing. So actually led by HHS through our program, we're starting an interagency venture capital advisory board for all federal agencies to be able to tap into and learn from the insights of the organizations that are working with the best investment firms from Silicon Valley and other places. That just started yesterday. Second, one of the things we often hear, because it's one thing for us, and we're passionate about this, so we're going to talk about AI, but this is truly something that will affect all levels and needs to be affected by all levels of an organization. We need senior leaders. We need program managers. We have people who never consider themselves technologists to be able to see themselves as literate in this and as stakeholders and stewards, even if they're not the techie. So we're going to be starting, and we're using GSA's Digital Gov University to pilot a whole new government-wide education and training system to bring in work with organizations like NVIDIA and other suppliers to be able to provide hands-on training and education in deep learning, machine learning, blockchain, anything that we see that we know that we're lacking a capability within the government. Well, we're going to start bringing that in and piloting that, and then working, with Michael's team and others to get feedback. Because if it's valuable, we're going to continue it. If not, there might be a better way or another organization to do it. And third, so we actually launched a lot of stuff yesterday. Shoot, I actually forget what the third one was.
We'll come back to that then.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Oh no, because Nick reached out, because he works with Harvard, and we've also been reached out with Stanford, MIT, Carnegie Mellon, and then we realized that there's a chasm between some of the greatest research facilities in the United States who both want to work and apply their knowledge in AI to public services, yet it's often limited by who do you have the email address of. So if we started an interagency, federal-wide academic research outreach program to specifically be able to join so we can start discussing more and articulating to the best research facilities in the world as to what are the things that we need answered, and also so when they're doing their research that we can plug them into exactly who they should be talking to in the government, because oftentimes they might not know who it is because the bureaucracy is dense and it sucks. And oftentimes, who they want to talk to, they don't know that program exists. We've got to stop that. If we're going to approach AI better, if we're going to do these public-private partnerships, we have to find new ways of doing it. And one by one, we're going to hammer this out, and we're going to do this with your help.
If I might?
Yes, of course.
Tough act to follow, Justin. So something that I think doesn't get discussed enough is the fact that the AI that we're talking about today is actually not entirely new. It's been around a long time. And what I think the public doesn't realize is that there has been a lot that AI has provided and done in areas of pattern recognition and control systems and the like. And so certainly the capabilities of what we see today, primarily because of big data, the amounts of data, the tremendous increase in data throughput delivery and compute.
Which increased over President Obama's administration, I just wanted to mention.
Okay. and it continues.
It
yep.
does, it does.
And
Says the former White House
That's right.
official.
That's right.
that's right. And we're grateful. And so to help to tell that story a little bit briefly, so NIST has spent decades in capabilities that you might think are capacities of AI or AI themselves. And so for decades, we have run programs of working with industry and the academic community in challenge problems. So we orchestrate data, we bring technology together, we benchmark it, and we'll iterate on it on a level platform. And this has been extremely successful in driving innovation and bringing things together in a standard way in the areas of information search. So I don't know if many of you are aware of the 25 years of the TREC conference, the Text Retrieval Conference, which really helped formulate the engines that we see in Google. There's also natural language processing and speaker recognition. I've spent 20 years in biometrics, so facial recognition, and again, voice recognition. And what's the relevance here? When you think about the AIs that we're now carrying around in our pocket, it's bringing all those verticals, which used to be kind of separate things, it's bringing it all together. And so one of the things that I think is very promising and very optimistic about is the things that we've been able to do at the National Institute of Standards and Technology to help responsibly work with the community to drive these technologies so that when they're brought to market, they are reliable and they do perform as expected. That we'll be able to do these same things with these more complex systems of systems.
Alyssa, one
I
final comment?
amazingly didn't have anything to add to that.
Okay.
But I will say that we have to get out of our own way, right? I think that if we don't, really take a big chunk of this, start implementing and realizing, have a better realization of the possibilities and the practicality of it, we will find ourselves behind the curve. And today's the day, exactly.
So that's all the time we had. I'm sad I had like 10 more questions. Make sure you catch up with the speakers after the event during the networking hour. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Alyssa. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.